Hi everyone, welcome to the channel. This is Perpetuality. The Tecel Subdiver on my left side was my first and only Homage watch. 6 years ago when I bought it, I was drawn to its good looks and low cost by Homage standards. For 220 Canadian dollars, it was a lot of watch for every dollar. Since then, my collection has grown, and I continue to work towards my watch collecting goals. I didn't really focus any attention on Homage watches. I find it genuinely liberating to wear a watch where you don't have to worry over what can happen to it, free from unwanted attention, and all for myself to enjoy, free from hype and the expectation of social media, and that you must be interested in it because several large watch content creators said so. That's nonsense. Homage watches are kind of the call to the grassroots of collecting. The early days where being interested in the watch is solely for personal preferences. It was as simple as I got it because I liked it and I couldn't stop thinking about it. I picked up the San Martin Mill sub from Watch Dives to see just how far Homage watches have progressed. Yes, I know that a Chrono sub or San Martin sub would be a better comparison, but I don't exactly own those watches and they are not the subject of this comparison. Likely someone in the comments will also point this out. Comparing these watches in size, the Tecel is larger in almost every number. It's 40mm wide versus 38mm of the San Martin Mill sub. The Tecel is also longer in lug length at 48mm compared to 46mm of the San Martin. The Tecel is thinner at 12.5mm compared to the 13.1mm of the San Martin owing to the boxed sapphire crystal. Both watches offer 200 meters of water resistance thanks to the screw-down crown. Sapphire crystals are also used, however the San Martin has blue AR coating applied underneath to the crystal, which sometimes offers a blue tint I'm not crazy about. The movement inside both of these watches are good. The Tecel has the 9015 or the Miyota 9039 depending on date or no date configuration. The San Martin has the NH35, and accuracy on both of them, let's just say that the San Martin is more accurate despite beating at a lower beat rate. It is about 7 seconds out. I believe San Martin does regulate the NH35, but don't quote me on that. The Tecel needs to be serviced as it is 6 years old at this point, keeping 14 seconds out. I can't really comment on its true accuracy. Lume brightness and longevity are usually determinants for the average Homage watch compared to a great one. It's the area where most Homage brands will cheap out on. This isn't the case with the San Martin. It absolutely flattens the Tecel in the Lume department. Though both use BGW9 Lume, the amount of Lume application in the San Martin is better due to the taller indices that leaves us with incredible Lume brightness. Within 10 minutes of using a UV light, you can see just how clear the difference is. Here is the San Martin compared to the reigning champ of Lume in my collection, and that is the Tudor Pelagos FXD. Surprised? I certainly was. It's nearly as bright as the much more expensive Tudor. The San Martin certainly feels small. It looks like a 4-digit Rolex Submariner, and it has the female end links which allow the case to be much more fitted to the wrist for optimal comfort. Speaking of comfort, the Tecel has male end links which extend the lug-to-lug length. Not desirable for wrist comfort at all. However, both watches are comparable in weight. Funny enough, the San Martin is only 5 grams lighter than the Tecel, which weighs in at 145 grams, despite the San Martin being an overall smaller watch. The bezel action of the San Martin has solid feedback. Each click is defined. Rotating it slowly offers a satisfying clunk to each action with minimal to no play in the bezel. This has been the best bezel I've operated for under $300. Although the listing indicated that it was a 90-click bezel, in reality it is a 120-click bezel based on my example, thank goodness. The bezel action of the Tecel is like trying to operate a bank vault while wearing oven mitts. It's vague and feels clumsy. It has copious amounts of bezel play and not in a good way if you're into that kind of stuff. To give context to how great the bezel of the San Martin is, here it is compared to my Tudor Pelagos FXD. Though not as refined or tight, it still holds up very well to a watch that is far above its cost of entry. I just wish the San Martin had a lumed bezel. Even though it's fully indexed and I prefer the look of it, being fully lumed would only elevate the watch further. The case and bracelet of the T-cell only help date the watch. Yes, it has elements of the Rolex Submariner with the polished side of the case and has satin top parts of the bracelet and lugs. But the brushwork is just not great. It's soft, it's dull, and there is no luster to it. The edges of the case and bracelet are rounded off where they should be sharp, which is very unlike the watch it's based upon. Its other Homage counterparts execute this a lot better. The clasp itself is good but not confidence-inspiring, it rattles about. The clasp does feature a glide lock adjustment, which is something the San Martin lacks. The execution and how it clicks in place is less than secure. You will fight it as it is rather vague to click it down into the clasp. The overall feel of the bracelet is not of quality, and I feel that they could have done a lot better. This is where the money has been evidently saved. Though both watches are of 316L steel in the case and bracelet, it certainly doesn't feel like they've taken the same approach to finishing the case and bracelet. This is evident in the San Martin. The satin brush parts of the case, the side, the top of the bracelet, all have a bright sheen and defined luster. It's a lot like looking at a 4K TV compared to 1080p. It's just a higher definition. Looking at the watch and the way that the steel reflects the light, there's a fine graining to the steel. You do feel like it's just been handled with greater care. The transitional edges on the San Martin are sharp. On the case and the bracelet, one can catch their finger on the edge and get a sense for just how sharp it is. Both bracelets use screw links to hold themselves together. However, the screws on the San Martin are a smidge larger and easier to access to remove from the bracelet as compared to the T-cell. The San Martin also features a nice solid steel screwdriver that will help you with the process. I wish that I could get a half link adjustment on the San Martin or a glide lock half extension to help with the wearability. It would just elevate the comfort that much more. The lack of a half link made it difficult to center the clasp on the San Martin on my wrist. I truly struggled with it. I winced at the thought of bringing these dials to 1.5 times magnification, wondering what horrors would await me, as most brands at this price point normally wouldn't focus on dial quality at this magnification, but I was pleasantly surprised. Both watches have a rich gloss black dial that have reflectivity of enamel, but they aren't. The hands on the T-cell are good, but not great. At 1.5 times magnification, there is visible dirt and debris on the hand stack and the hour hand. The edges are just not as defined. The San Martin has very few flaws on its dial. Yes, there are flecks of dust and debris, but they are fewer in quantity and not as large as the ones sitting on the T-cell. Also note just how much clearer and defined the edge of the hands on the San Martin are, especially the hour hand, compared to the T-cell. Print quality of the text is quite similar in both watches, but the overall finish work and detail work under magnification goes to the San Martin and just how clean the dial is. Having handled both the San Martin and the T-cell sub, I'm shocked at just how far Homage watches have progressed, especially compared to 6 years ago when I picked up the T-cell sub. I feel that the line is blurred as Homage watches progress further and further. Where do we draw the line between Homage and replica watches? Now that these Homage watches are getting so good at what they can do for very little money, pretty much every manufacturer out there right now has adjusted with their prices upwards to combat the current economic climate. But nevertheless, Homage watches represent an exciting foray into a world that is affordable watches. I'm quite excited to see what happens and what comes out of this evolution. Thank you so much for joining me today and watching today's video. If you liked the video, please like the video, and if you want to see more watch content like today's video, please consider subscribing, leaving a comment. All of that truly helps the channel, and I will catch you in the next one.